am Dr. Cynthia Warwick, the 7th president and first female leader at Stillman College. I want to thank Reverend Dr. Howard John Wesley and the Alfred Street Baptist Church family on behalf of Stillman for selecting us as the featured HBCU for this year's annual HBCU Festival and HBCU Sunday. We are very honored and hope Reverend Wesley will accept our invitation to come to Stillman for our annual Religious Emphasis Week next year. Celebrating HBCUs during Black History Month is especially important. The celebration of Black history began as Negro History Week, created by Dr. Carter G. Woodson. The goal was to acknowledge the significant impact and remarkable contributions of African Americans to U.S. history and culture. After decades of recognition as Negro History Week, it was on college campuses that the celebration evolved into Black History Month and was officially acknowledged as such in 1976 by President Gerald Ford. HBCUs have long been a safe haven for Black students and offered one of their only paths to a college degree before the Civil Rights Movement. HBCUs hold a very special place in my heart. My family members, including grandparents, parents, husbands, children, bonus children, aunts, uncles, cousins, and me, have attended 18 HBCUs across the country. Today, HBCUs welcome and educate students of all races, nationalities, and cultures. Here at Stillman, we enroll students from across the country and the world. And in my 4 years as the president, I have come to learn the rich history and significance of Stillman and how we have contributed to Black history in Alabama. In fact, in 2016, Stillman College was added to the Alabama Register of Landmarks and Heritage as a historic district in recognition of its role as an early institute for the education of African Americans in Tuscaloosa. Stillman College is a Christian school founded by the Presbyterian Church USA. In 1875, when the state of Alabama revised its constitution to make it illegal to educate African Americans, the Reverend Dr. Charles Stillman, pastor of First Presbyterian Tuscaloosa, petitioned the General Assembly of the church requesting permission to establish a school to educate Black ministers. As a result, the Stillman Institute was born in 1876, and 144 years later, at Stillman College, we continue to educate men and women in religion and theology, and also award degrees in 15 other liberal arts majors. Between 1884 and 1933, there were 8 lynchings of Black men in Tuscaloosa. These terror lynchings were intended to intimidate not only Blacks, but the whites who supported racial justice. In fact, a lynching occurred on the grounds of First Presbyterian Church, Tuscaloosa, shortly after Dr. Stillman began the Institute. The Equal Justice Initiative, founded by Bryan Stevenson, has documented more than 350 lynchings in Alabama alone. EJI collects dirt in a glass jar from each of the grounds where people were lynched and are on display at the Lynching Memorial in Montgomery, Alabama. One such jar of dirt is from First Presbyterian Tuscaloosa. It is due to our history and the truly powerful stories of our founders, alumni, students, and staff members that we will establish the Stillman Museum of Civil Rights to document these stories and to showcase the leaders and events that have enabled Stillman to progress for 144 years. With a planning grant from the U.S. Department of Interior's National Park Service, we began in August 2020 the plan for the Stillman Museum in our Shepherd Library, which was nominated to the National Register. This library is named after Stillman alumnus Reverend William Henry Shepherd, who graduated in 1887 and is known as the Black Livingston. Shepherd and fellow clergy Samuel Lapsley, his white supervisor, traveled to the Congo as the first missionaries to Africa of the Presbyterian Church in 1890. Shepherd was permitted to establish the first mission of the Presbyterian Church by King Leopold II of Belgium. He lived in the Congo for 20 years among the Bakuba tribe and witnessed the atrocities against the natives. Shepherd then shared evidence of these atrocities by the Belgian government and the Kasai Rubber Company with the New York Times and testified in international court regarding the cruelty and violence in direct violation of the Berlin Act of 1885. Shepherd's actions led to the Congo's freedom from Belgian rule, and his papers and artifacts are archived at the National Presbyterian Historical Society in Philadelphia. The Stillman Museum will present the history of Stillman and Shepherd in a digital format, as well as persons like Hallie Paxson Winsborough, who, as the superintendent of the Women's Auxiliary of the Presbyterian Church, organized the first conference for Negro women in 1916 at the Stillman Institute, which 155 delegates attended, representing 6 different states and 16 different towns, including Reverend and Mrs. Shepherd. Because there was no female housing on the campus, the participants stayed in the men's dormitory for $10 per week, room and board. 6 years later, the Presbyterian women raised the funds to build Winsboro Hall, the first female dormitory at Stillman, in 1922. Winsboro Hall went on to serve as the temporary residence for Vivian Malone, the first African American to graduate from the formerly segregated University of Alabama. Miss Malone was made famous when then-Governor George Wallace attempted to prevent her from enrolling at the all-white university, blocking her entrance and flanked by state troopers. The university hired a driver to transport Ms. Malone between Stillman and UA for social and cultural activities, but also for her safety. Also nominated to the National Register, Winsboro Hall has been vacant for several years and is in significant disrepair. We plan to convert it into the Winsboro Living and Learning Center to serve as a residence for senior citizens. Another important historical figure that will be included in the Stillman Museum is the former Secretary of State, Dr. Condoleezza Rice. The Reverend John Wesley Rice, Jr., a Presbyterian minister and Dr. Rice's father, served as the Dean of Students at Stillman College for many years. The Rice family lived on the campus, and Condoleezza spent her middle school years in Tuscaloosa until 1967, when the family moved from Tuscaloosa to her father's new administrative position at the University of Denver. Dr. Rice's grandfather, also a Presbyterian minister and Stillman alumnus, who paid for his first year of college with cotton and received scholarships from the Presbyterian Church to complete his education. The last alumnus story is that of attorney and former state senator Michael Figures. A resident of Mobile, Alabama, Michael Figures graduated from Stillman in 1969 and was admitted to the University of Alabama Law School, one of 3 first African-American graduates in 1972. He became a successful attorney and was elected to the state Senate in 1978 and was the first black to become president of the Senate in 1994. In 1987, he served as co-counsel with the Southern Poverty Law Center and won a lawsuit against the United Klans of America for $7 million in a case of lynching of a black teenager. He was running for lieutenant governor of Alabama when he died suddenly from an aneurysm in 1996. Attorney Figures was known to follow his 3 B's: be prepared, be there, and be on time. Stillman honored Michael Figures posthumously with the inaugural Stillman Medal for Courage and Justice. His widow, Senator Vivian Figures, accepted the medal and established the Michael Figures Memorial Scholarship at Stillman for students majoring in history, criminal justice, and pre-law. The Stillman of today remembers the past and prepares our students for the future. Our motto, Preparing Students from a Different World, was taken from the TV show, A Different World, that opens with a picture of the Stillman College campus. More recent pictures of the campus can be seen on Aflac commercials with Coach Nick Saban. Coach Saban's wife, who likes to be called Miss Terry, is one of a group of progressive and diverse leaders on the Stillman College Board of Trustees. We have crafted a vision for Stillman that includes new developments to support our campus, but also the local Black community. We provide after-school programs through Upward Bound and dual enrollment with local high schools in Tuscaloosa and 3 rural school districts in Black Belt counties. Recognizing an absence of scouting, we started a Girl Scout troop, which has 30 members, and we're in the process of starting a Boy Scout troop. West Tuscaloosa is in a food desert. Before the pandemic, Stillman hosted a Sunday brunch 2 Sundays each month for the community. Because we are located in the Opportunity Zone, in conjunction with the HBCU Opportunity Fund, we have plans to develop a mixed-use apartment complex for workforce housing and retail, a training hotel, and a sit-down restaurant. We are in talks with gospel artists to expand the use of our football stadium to a gospel music event venue, which seats more than 3,000 guests and has 2 VIP spectator suites. The Stillman of today partners with the business community to advance apprenticeships with Mercedes-Benz International and its parts suppliers, and to the biotech industry startups. We recently received funding from the National Security Agency and DoD in cybersecurity and from FedEx in data and business analytics. We also partner with IBM, Apple, Google, and the Southern Company in career development initiatives across multiple disciplines. We are most proud of leading the effort for 44 HBCUs to receive $1.3 billion in loan forgiveness from the HBCU Capital Finance Program. This move positions Stillman for growth and partnership with the HBCU initiatives that will be launched by the Biden-Harris administration. I think Black History Month is in February because it encompasses the Lenten season, when we remember the sacrifice and suffering of Jesus' 40 days and nights in the wilderness and his temptation by Satan. Celebrating Black history helps us remember the many African Americans who have sacrificed and accomplished great things. I believe Carter G. Woodson would be very proud of how Black history is celebrated today, how Alfred Street Baptist Church celebrates and supports HBCUs, and by doing so, stops the miseducation of the Negro. Thank you for allowing me to share the Stillman story and for your support of our efforts in providing a Christian education and environment for young people who aspire to servant leadership positions in the nation and the world. We look forward to continuing our efforts to make HBCUs the best they can be, because they are needed as much today as they were in the 1800s, more than 150 years ago. Believers in the HBCU value proposition, like Alfred Street Baptist Church, help make the difference in not only the first-generation college students that we serve, but in the entire Black community. Thank you.